Thank you for tuning in. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Cage.
And we are the Brothers in Whiskey, and this is the Cask Effect Podcast.
This is. And we're getting started with our first YouTube video, too. So this is a new thing. We're exploring this.
We will see how this goes. It took longer than it should have to set all this up, but we're going to make it happen.
We're what, like an hour on the clock now trying to get this thing going?
25 minutes.
Okay. No, whatever. That's understated, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, before we get in, we've obviously got a couple things that we're going to taste here that's sitting on the table. Schedule your time to watch this as often as you can. Tell your friends and go and like our Instagram page. Give them the handle.
Brothers_in_whiskey. And that's whiskey without the E.
Without the E.
Exactly. That's an important thing to throw in there. We spell it properly.
Whole myriad of people out there who've got some random congruency.
Exactly.
Parallel to it. So I say we just dig in. We've got a couple really nice things we did today that we won't get into. Kate, we're going to start with the gin, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to start with the gin. We've got some cool things to open up today. So we're going to give a plug to Elixir Spirits there in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We're using the glasses we got from there. We've also got a couple of single malts that we're really excited to open up. One of them we've tried on a very special occasion. We'll go into that later. Mm-hmm. And then we've got a similar bottle we'll try. But to start us off, I've got a gin that I brought in.
Start light.
Yeah, I think I start. We'll see how light this is. A Navy strength gin, 57% alcohol. It's been aged in bourbon and sherry cask. So it's got quite a profile. It's pretty hearty. In my opinion, it's one of the best gins that I've had in a very long time, if not ever. So hopefully I'm selling that well. I think you'll like it. We'll see. We like our robust, strong spirits, so I think it'll be good.
I like aggressive drinking.
Drinks. Yeah, okay.
All right, fantastic. So I got to reach through a microphone to get to it.
All
so
right.
do you, I guess, but we'll figure this out. There's going to be a nice table. Hopefully, I'll be buying a house soon, so we'll have some space.
Oh,
satisfying pop.
Nice pop. All right. Let's give us a good pour.
This is where my future editing skills will have me zoom in on what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll get there. This is the rough draft.
There you
are. All right, so give that a nose there.
There you go. Theo, you want to sniff some? Hey. Go for it. No?
So this is from Copeland Distillery. And I believe that is the correct pronunciation. It is Irish.
Okay.
So there may be a variation on that name. But it is one that I'm personally not terribly familiar with. This was a new one for me. But again, what struck me were the characteristics of the gin. So like I've told you, I've been on a gin kick lately. So I like aged gin. I like different cask finishes. You know, I've got a special botanist gin in my collection that I'm waiting for the right time to open up, a 10-year-old Isla cask.
It was sherry finish or something like that.
Well, I think it was red wine, and I don't remember which specific red wine cask it was, but it was a red wine cask, and it was a special run that they did back years ago. I think 2011 is when they filled the cask, and they did it as a 10-year aged.
3 years ago.
Yeah, a few years. Well, 2021, I guess, because it was 2011. Yeah, so it was. No, I think I still had it at my last house. I think it's when I got it, but it's a gin that I'm waiting for the right moment to open. It's a very limited gin.
That's a 350, right, or 375?
Yeah, it is. It's a small bottle. And they only did 300 or so bottles of that run, so that one's a little limited. But this one, again, having some of those characteristics, you know, being aged, and again, it's a higher proof. It's 57%, so you're going to get that kick. A lot of the gins that we do try are in the 40% range, and which is still fine. They're still healthy, but I think that this does add a little bit more of that flavor, that robust character that we're used to in our cask strength whiskeys.
I can dig that. Jill, I don't remember if you'd gotten to try it. Jill got me that one gin. I don't remember what it was aged or passed through.
It was like, I did try it. It was like berries and stuff. I mean, it was delicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jill told me it tasted like Sprite.
Yes. Yeah. And I can concur with that description. It was delicious.
There you go.
And do you remember the strength on that one?
I do not. Imagine if I stuck my hand out to the side long enough, a fairy would bring that bottle, but I'd have to ask her sweetly. She's so fantastic.
Our dear producer, director.
Professor Jillian.
Exactly.
But while that bottle's materializing, we'll nose a little bit more.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this one?
I like it. It's got a lot of the telltale notes that I really, really enjoy in a gin. It's not that aggressive. Thank you, Spirit. It's got like sort of a berry like sweetness to it. There's a sweetness on the nose. It's not incredibly like herbal or floral, which I think gins obviously tend to be just because that's how botanicals work.
Yeah.
But it's good. I don't really get any of the barrel influence that you were talking about.
On the nose, it's not too heavy. Now if you set it next to an unaged gin,
you probably,
or at least one that's not cask finished, it will stand out at that point.
Navy strength.
But you're right. No, on the nose, you really just pick up a gin, but you can also kind of feel the heat off of it too. Yeah. In my opinion,
I agree. Yeah, there's a little bit of peppering on the nose,
exactly,
that you can definitely taste. With my nose. I don't know what Navy strength means, but Army beat Navy. There's my plug.
There you go.
Matured in Kentucky bourbon casks and finished in Oloroso sherry casks.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay.
And the color is beautiful too. It's got in the glass. It's pretty light.
Yeah.
But it definitely has that amber coloring that you would expect from the aging process. Now, I don't believe it says how long it aged, does it?
I don't have that side of the bottle visible. Let me see.
Not quite sure. It may not say.
I am not seeing anything about it. So if you guys know, put it in the comment section below. We can put that in there now.
Exactly. Yeah, let us know. We want to add that.
Not just with us and rash speculation.
Yes.
It could be prompting you to interact and therefore feeding the algorithm.
We'll research it and we'll find out how long it was aged. But regardless, it was aged long enough to impart that character and that color, and so it's significant enough for that at least.
Well, I'm curious how long, because even with whiskey, like it doesn't take that long for it to start to get a little bit of the color.
Yeah.
I think it starts at earliest like 4 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And you look at stuff that's only been in there for 2 years, getting yourself to actual bourbon like qualification, then 18 months or whatever it is, and then you look at it and you go, okay, cool. And there's normally a deep amount of coloring even in there. Obviously you hold something out really, really, really long, and you'll get to where it looks like black tea.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah. You and I both tasted stuff that you can't see through it.
Exactly. No, it's so dark, and that's actually these whiskeys we're going to get to. They've got a little bit of that character. They're just so rich in that bottle. The Bunna that we've got, that one's pretty dark there.
Well, and I think getting to sit basically in like specks of the barrel.
That helps.
Probably, yeah. I imagine if you left these for another 10, 15 years, heaven forbid, that they would be maybe
like black tea, basically. It would be close.
Yeah, maybe like really dark orange juice, or
hope it's not too orange.
Yeah. Or apple juice. Yeah, that's sorry. I got the citrus from this in my mind.
All right. Well, I guess if you want to try a sip,
yeah, let's do it.
Now you get more of that flavor influence.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of tannins on the tongue.
Mm-hmm. Still gin. Very, very evident that it's gin. But I feel like that the rich fruits from the sherry influence do kind of blend their way. But for me, I pick up more of those bourbon barrels. I think that that oakiness, like you said, the tannins that come in with it a little bit, the peppery element. You don't get too many of the sweet sides, and I think it may be because the botanicals and the herbs kind of cover that up just by the character.
On the tongue, on the actual tasting aspect of it, I think the alcohol burning off in there definitely probably covers up. I'd be curious to see just like letting this like sit out and like burning it off. Like I imagine just sitting here swirling for a couple minutes would do a world of difference.
I think you're right because it is so strong. It's just like it always happens when we have a fresh crack of a high proof whiskey. It's just so alcohol forward. And this one I had already opened, but I already pulled one glass out of it.
You got the neck pour out.
I was basically got the neck pour.
Yeah.
So I got the neck pour out. So it hasn't been open long enough, I feel like, to really impact that flavor. And for those who are unfamiliar, the neck pour is a myth with some folks. Some folks it's not. I believe in it simply because we have documented cases through our Instagram and our podcast of opening, for example, I think of the Hypernova that we got from Ardbeg not long ago. When we opened it up, we compared it to the Supernova, and it was such a stark difference. But it wasn't really because the whiskey itself was that different. It was just that fresh crack and that high proof, relative high proof at that point. And then when we revisited it a few months later, it like totally changed the whiskey, and it just had to be open for that period of time.
Yeah, and I'm always curious. I'm kind of on the fence. I think for me, some spirits get more affected definitely by the neck pour thing. So like for me, I'm always curious if like, all right, well, like how long do you have to leave? Like is it just like pouring out the neck, or is it really that you need to have some like not stale air floating around in there to really let the alcohol and the esters burn off and just like float off on the inside? Like a bottle that's been open for a little while, in my opinion, is probably going to mellow quicker because it's able to fill up the rest of the space. That's why you get really nice, satisfying pops, especially when it's a fresher bottle, because you've got more of like that fresh, it's smaller space that's going in, just a lot more pressure in terms of what you're able to go with. Now, obviously, you sit there and shake the thing like every day, and you'll probably have a slightly different effect, but I don't think there's many people out there shaking their whiskey bottles or otherwise.
I hope not. It's a violation.
It's like shaking a baby.
But yeah, the neck pour, I mean, don't take it for what the naming suggests. It's not purely that the neck of a bottle has a different taste. That's ridiculous. But it's simply how the air, when you open a bottle, how it interacts with the whiskey, how it opens up. Just like with water, a dash of water in a glass of whiskey or gin or any other spirit, how that interacts and changes that flavor and that behavior.
Are you talking about terroir right now?
I'm not going to throw the buzzword in that early. It's too early for that.
Well, I'll do it then. Yeah. I'd almost be curious to your exact point. Like what would happen? Like, how different of an effect would you get opening up like two bottles that were like bottled at the same time, same distillery? Opening them in two different places, how replicable of an experience you could get in terms of like the flavor profile, especially after a little while. And I know there's conversation about whether or not altitude plays into it too, because all those things affect how the bottle itself is going to be interacted with, not only before it's bottling but after you open it. And but I think most of our stuff is done at sea level, so.
Yeah,
I don't know with that. Yeah.
Well, it is fascinating, and now we're getting way too deep into the weeds for episode one. But
it's not really episode one
YouTube
because there's a ton of episodes.
There are a ton
on
of
podcast episodes where we talk about random stuff, mainly just babble for hours.
But then we find ourselves diving deep into a topic, and then we take up an hour of your time, and there.
And then I have to edit it all.
And then you have to edit it. Yeah, way to go, Taylor. But no, the interesting science of it, though, as you just alluded to, is the fact that all these interactions take place, and there's so many different factors that go into play. So elevation has an impact, oxygen and how it interacts with the spirit, and other elements in the air.
Are you opening it in Kentucky or Los Angeles?
It can make a difference. Well, especially you think, again, talking about elevation, you think about opening in Denver versus, let's just say, the beach in Miami or something. You not only are you going to have the elements of elevation, but you've also got salty sea air versus, depending on where you're at in Denver, clear, clean mountain air. So it's pretty thin. And so that interaction is also going to be different. Not to mention the impact on your nose, right? Because your nose plays such a huge part into your palate and how flavors get interpreted. So, I mean, all those things are pretty incredible. Now, I think that such an experiment is a little difficult to just do, but hey, if we want to travel around and try to find places to pop brand new bottles and compare, it gets a little too subjective to an extent, I think, to really lay a good foundation. If some people may notice difference, some may not. Yeah. But yeah, no, those factors are definitely there.
Heck yeah, yeah. So this is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. Well, as I cited, I think that this is probably the best gin I've had, at least in a very long time, if not the best gin I've had in terms of overall characteristic and the alcohol content, because I like a high proof spirit. Yeah. I don't know how you would classify it in your lineup, because it depends on what you're looking for. If you like a fruitier, lighter gin, maybe a gin and tonic friendly kind of a gin, this is not going to be your thing. It's just a little stronger, more robust than those.
As two guys who like whiskey forward, like old fashions and such. Like I don't think it'd be completely out of the question to have a Tom Collins? Is that it's like a screwdriver? No, not screwdriver. That's orange juice and vodka or something. There's the other one. I don't know. It'll come to me later.
I'm not the cocktail expert.
There you go. Hey, put your favorite gin cocktails in the comments.
Yeah, share with us, because we'd like to try. And cocktails are fun to make with
high proof stuff,
like strange spirits, right? Like everyone makes it with like an old fashioned bullet bourbon or something, which is very good. There's nothing wrong with that, but we've made old fashions, quote old fashioned, with a cask strength Islay Scotch, and it's incredible to us. Maybe not to everybody, but imparting those flavors.
You got to adjust quite a few things to make sure that you're giving each facet of the cocktail like its point in the spotlight, because I think like that's one issue. We talked about with one of the guys at an event we were at earlier today, that like we have like a running list of places that do what we think better or worse old fashions, and a lot of that is making sure that your ingredients play well together. Like obviously having the right sweetener, I think, is the big one for old fashions. So like whether or not you're using simple syrup or like a sugar cube,
because you can tell if it's like too artificial,
right? Or it's just not matched right. Like you can you can get in there, you're like, cool. Somebody told them it was a whiskey, a sweetener, and bitters, and like they went cool, and they just grabbed like the first three they made eye contact with, and you can tell when that's happened. But then when somebody actually puts in the effort to put those together and like pair them, because like I said, you're supposed to use like different sweeteners with different types of whiskey. So like you go and we use an Islay whiskey for an old fashioned, or Rob Roy, or whatever the adjacent is. If you really want to give it the credit, one, you're gonna have to drink a couple of them to get it right, which I'm not mad about.
That's a terrible sacrifice.
Yeah, well, it all depends on how expensive the bottle is. But you got to make sure that whatever you're doing, like I said, plays and complements and makes the whole experience good. Because otherwise, you get what basically tastes like a nice smoky whiskey with stale sugar or something like that in it. So you gotta play nice.
Exactly.
With that.
No, you do.
Which is why I drink everything neat, so I don't have to worry about
That's
that.
the safe play.
I think my favorite cocktail is an espresso martini, and I make that for the life all the time. And the point I keep all that stuff in the freezer, just like even the glasses.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I mean, that works. Nothing wrong with that.
Kind of handy.
Yeah.
We got all these cats just roaming around. God, don't get too comfortable. All right. Well, like I said, this is fantastic. Do we want to try the other one that
we can? No, I mean, I'm not going to complain.
Beautifully brought. You're not going to convince her out of it. She's sitting here. He-Man's sitting over there on the other side of cage, majestically.
It's all right. He's my buddy. And then he leaves.
He's everybody's buddy. Well, there's a little cat. He keeps running outside, and He-Man wants to fight him.
All right. So, you want to pop the other gin?
Yeah, let's do another quick pour of some gin.
We'll do a small pour of that one just to compare it.
Yeah, and so...
Because when I say compare, I mean, you're talking about stark differences between these two.
Oh, very...
This is very different.
Very different approaches. I agree with that completely. Because that one, like they're going a little bit more for, sherry cask finishes.
Yeah.
Being aged and matured in a bourbon barrel.
Yeah.
This one, I don't remember. It's got the most beautiful... Let me see. Single traditional pot still made from 21 different botanicals, including rose petal, coriander, and rosemary. Experience its exotic aromas and extraordinary violet hue, changing color with a splash of tonic or citrus, which we won't do. But this one's very nice because it boasts a hibiscus berry flavoring.
Yeah, and I remember from that first try, it is very forward on that berry flavoring, and it really is like a Sprite type flavor. It's refreshing. It's clean. To me, this is what you expect out of a gin. Again, I love the gin that we just tried the first time, but typically when I'm going for a gin, this is what I want. I mean, because like that one there, the Copeland, I might as well get a whiskey, to be honest with you, in terms of the similarities.
I don't think that leans too far into the whiskey with the aging, though.
Not too far. No.
Even by the time we were done with trying that, I mean, you watched me throw it back, and I still get a little bit more of definitely the gin side of it. Yeah. Like I think for the most part, there's a slight bit of like that tannic influence, especially on the palate. But outside of that, it's got all those trademarks that like I see in all the gins that I like. Botanist. I like Empress gins.
Yeah,
those are another good one. They've got a whole bunch of stuff that they like pass through and filter, so they get a whole bunch of cool colors. And then this McQueen is, I don't know, it might have passed Botanist. Very closely. I know it's borderline heresy.
Yeah,
it's a phrase to be said, but
because I know Botanist is still overall my favorite brand in terms of availability, consistent quality. So
I completely agree with that. Yeah, if you are like, well, I think maybe I'll put it like this. I think Botanist is still like my devoted daily gin drinker.
Yeah, fair enough.
This is a great bottle. I don't know how much it costs, but it's a gorgeous bottle. So I think it's a little pricier than Botanist is. And I wouldn't want to put this in a cocktail. Botanist, I put in plenty of cocktails.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, see, I put some in my glass. Cool. I'm going to relocate these so that our framing is beautiful.
Yeah. So while you're moving those around, so talking about this one in terms of how it differs. So again, you can't overstate the Sprite or maybe even ginger ale type influence on it, mixed with the fruits, and it's just very clean. Again, it's what you expect out of a gin. Now, do you recall where it came from? Any idea?
My wife. Let me check. So this, if we look at the bottle, let's hope the bottle doesn't lie to us. So this is imported by McQueen and Violet Fog. He-Man, don't touch that. In Highland Park, Illinois. This is made in Brazil. Really? Yes. Okay. It's colored with vegetable juice and carmine, whatever that is. It tastes great. But yeah, so this is apparently Brazilian, and I don't remember the exact story behind McQueen, but I have a feeling it has to do with there's a musician. My brain says Steve McQueen, but
that would be cool, but I don't think that's...
I don't, because it talks about Violet Fog. All it read was, let me see, my heart caught in my throat as I helplessly waited, then the bulbs glowed again, the room illuminated. What I saw there at last still defies explanation. The stage was deserted, save the reverberation. Shocked and anxious I left, but glanced back at the door, and there saw a plate gone unnoticed before. All it read was McQueen, ampersand on the wall, just below, the Violet Fog. That was all. So, yeah, so whoever created this had a fantastic interaction with somebody in a leather jacket and a purple cloak, 4 figures, huge black amplifiers. So there is, in fact, a band involved with whatever this is.
Okay.
And it made them want to make gin. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a noble affair. So any sort of music where that makes you want to make gin.
Must be good music.
It's good music, right? Yeah. But you were saying about refreshing and clear. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's extremely refreshing.
A little bit more citrus heavy,
definitely.
I think. But it's like, cucumber water in the summer, sort of refreshing.
Yeah, this is that hot summer day gin versus maybe a fall evening around the campfire for the prior. But yeah, I think that it's wonderful on the nose, very balanced again, light, flavorful.
Gin for all seasons.
Yeah.
I very much get I can very much see. It's funny. I'm like sangria almost.
Yeah.
Like
No, it has
on the
that.
nose. Like there's so much like raspberry and like I said, that citrus, but with like a small. I guess we can kind of go Sprite. There's a little bit of lemon and lime. Hey, stop! Don't touch that. Is this going to be a running bit on the show? What's going on here?
The cat the feline integration.
Yeah. How far into the episode until a cat rubbed its face on a mic? Stop paying attention to that. It's mine.
I'm going to take a sip of this one.
All right. Well, we should drink again.
Cheers.
Man, these glasses are not satisfying with the bases held.
Man, that is good. See, there's practically no burn off of this one.
Yeah,
the last one again. It was such a high proof.
Would you say this one is smooth?
Smooth. We'll have to make a sound bite just to drop it in just smooth.
Yeah. Smooth. Don't try me, man. I will obliterate this garage band.
Just make everyone uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is smooth. It's very agreeable. It's
go.
palatable. It's friendly. It's not going to throw anyone off. You know, some things if they're too alcohol forward, the flavors too just it can be a little too powerful maybe at times.
Input Elijah Craig barrel proof. It's like it's so alcoholic to the point where it's like there is no flavor.
Yeah,
that is a beverage bottled so as to make you messed up.
Yeah. Now like anything, you let it breathe. You start to smooth out. But
I had that bottle for forever, and I used to torture her with it.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was just a start to finish. Just a.
Well, it's bottled at something like 68%.
It's pretty hot.
Like we're approaching like moonshine levels. Yeah. Not really. Don't come at
You're
me.
into that hazmat bottle territory.
Yeah. Well,
like
it's kind of stuff you just keep it in a flask and you put it in your first aid kit because you know it can clean the wound out.
Well, I know it's a very popular bourbon, but again, everyone has their preferences, and I think a lot of times, especially with the bourbon kick that we've experienced fairly, as of late, that recently has started to die back down. But I think that a lot of people were just obsessed with getting the highest proof whiskey they could get, even if that was detrimental to the flavor. Now, I'm not saying that I can't really make that judgment call. I don't have enough experience with that bottle to feel comfortable reviewing it like that. But maybe that could have been the case where everyone is just obsessed with the proof and not with the quality. I don't know. I can't say.
I think at my peak of like where you and I were drinking pretty consistently, like tasting stuff, going out to places, like palate was fully developed, like before I got COVID or whatever, and it reset like half of my, my flavor memories.
Fair
or whatever.
enough. Yeah.
Like I remember there was a time where like I could mess around with it. Like there was. Like I could pull it out and I could drink it, and I could be like, all right, yeah, it's spicy, it's hot. There's a really high alcohol content coming from there, but like you could pull some. I could pull a lot of like the flavors out of it.
Yeah.
I feel like the ABV definitely overshadows a lot of the flavor things that you could get from it otherwise, though. So, I mean, like I said, there's a place for it for everybody. I feel like it's the other side of like the horseshoe. It's like high ABV, not complex, and so it's like high ABV, but it's so high ABV that it becomes not complex. Mm-hmm. And complex is like smooth. I understand that, but like you go and like you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like you've got to almost be desensitized to it, or to the ABV at least, to turn and be able to pull something in a lot of cases from like a bottle that way. Like I remember watching a video in one of the whiskey groups of some guy like downing an entire like popping it like on camera and then just like emptying it from lid to bottom and just being like, whoa, like there's no way that guy was walking like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
later.
we don't do that here. We're not about that.
Man, we'll let a bottle sit on the shelf for 3 years before we'll down it like that. You know, like that's not us. Like
no, we don't do it. We don't do it for the hype. We're not.
Those
here.
days are so far behind us. I don't think we weren't even like
that day
in
never
college.
happened.
Yeah,
I never got that.
I think I did that like once in
No,
college.
I mean the whole point of this to begin with was to slow down and sip something that was enjoyable and not to pound something back for the sake of effect. You know, that was the whole idea, and it has been an enjoyable one with no regrets. So there's something to be said for that. Yeah. Other than the pocketbook,
my pocketbook complains a couple days a week,
and arguably the inconvenience at times. Like I'm about to move houses again, so now I get to pack and move 140, 150 something bottles.
Yeah.
That's not going to be a lot of fun. So
no, especially because you've got you still have those bottle boxes in your attic,
I do,
right?
yeah, which were discontinued, by the way.
Oh, that's so lame.
So the ones I have are the only ones I get.
So like the entire capital world like screwed you over in the last like however long because they don't make your fancy little bottle carrier bag anymore.
You could say that.
They don't do the boxes. Wow.
Basically, they don't believe in protecting the bottles. Maybe that's a sign I just need to
drink
finish
it all
them off.
between now and then.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I'll pray for your liver.
Yeah, thank you.
We're starting a GoFundMe for his liver.
Yeah.
No, not actually. But all right. Well, hey, those were fantastic.
No, those were good. Good way to introduce this. Go on the easy side, kind of warm up. But now,
warmed up,
exactly. Now, though, we get to really dive into something that I know I'm very excited about. So number one more shout out to Elixir Spirits.
Yeah.
Again, one of our favorite stores here in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We'll give the shout out to Tarek and the team over there. They've always got a fantastic selection. And so a little bit of story time, filling you in, viewers on Taylor's life is Taylor has recently been married, so congratulations to that with Jill, our producer and director. Yes, she's giving the thumbs down, so we know how she feels about the whole thing.
She's
but
looking for an annulment already.
Right. I mean, we're not very far in, but we are. But she came to me and said that she wanted to get you a bottle of whiskey for the wedding, right? And so we talked about it, and there was one bottle that I just knew of on the top of my head. I knew it was out there floating around that would be perfect for you, and so we teamed up. We went and got it from Tarek. He held it for us and made that happen. And it is
powers combined.
In fact, by the combined powers here, we have made this happen. And so we were super excited about it because it's not every day you find an old rare whiskey just sitting on the shelf, much less one like this in the state of Tennessee. So if you're familiar with Blackadder at all, and Taylor, you've researched the history, so you can fill in some of this too. If you're familiar with Blackadder, they have a wide range of their own bottlings, independent bottlings of various whiskeys from distilleries. One of those is their Raw Cask series.
It's their main line.
That's their main line
that they do.
And it's incredible because, I mean, like the name says, it is straight out of the cask. You know, people talk about no chill filtering, right? Well, no chill filtration does not mean there's no filtration. It's just talking about the type of filtration.
Correct.
Right? There's always charcoal filtration, things like that. Well,
shout out to you, Jack Daniel.
Exactly. But Raw Cask, as Blackadder does, is truly they dump the barrel into some bottles, and you get the bits of the barrel. You get bits of that charcoal from the toasting process in with the bottling that just imparts that much more character. And you want to talk about an oily mouthfeel?
Oh, you beat
there
me
you
to
go.
it this time.
An oily mouthfeel, because I knew that was coming.
I tried to stay away from the word mouthfeel during the gin tastings, just because
so you could introduce it here. So I'm going to let you kick in with it too. But
by the way, this is a not a paid advertisement. I feel like I don't know. I see a lot of that on YouTube. I feel like we should say
this is not none of this. We are not sponsored.
Not yet.
No, not yet. Well, if you're interested, please contact.
Looking at you, brands we do.
Right.
Shout out to Travis at Ardbeg. We just review and look at a lot of the stuff that we enjoy tasting. Sometimes stuff we don't enjoy testing, but I think even that's
we try it for the good of the public interest.
Yeah, exactly. It's a small price to pay. I've got a bottle of We saw it at the store today. We won't name it just so we don't shame it already, but it was at that top shelf, and I told you it wasn't worth that much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had a bottle of that 4-5 years now, and it's no further than it was the last time. I use it for cocktails. Yeah. So sometimes it's just not good.
Yeah, and and we'll say when a bottle is not good, but not to shame it. I don't think that our intent is ever to shame a brand, because the reality is tasting is always subjective. Correct. We may not like, someone else may love,
which is one of the biggest catchphrases of every other channel that does exactly what we do. Yeah. We Whiskey Tribe is like big on the best way to have a whiskey is the way you like it.
Exactly, and some places will like their word or their review is the gospel when it comes to whiskey, and that's just not the case. Yeah. I mean, your tastes are too wide ranging. We get along great because our palates are in tune the same way. We like the same thing.
Yeah, similar. I won't say exactly the same.
Yeah, not exactly, not identical, but we're in the same family.
Yeah, we're in the same quadrant.
It'd be different if you were strictly Islay Scotch and I was like blended Speyside or Irish or something like
just Irish.
That would be, it would work. But it would be a little different. But we're getting off in the weeds in this. So kind of circling back. So tell us a little bit about what you know about Blackadder.
Well, I hate to misspeak. So fortunately for me, I've got all of this stuff on my laptop.
There you go. Come prepped with the research.
Yeah. Well, and to be completely honest, there will be an episode that probably just be me.
We'll do some of our own independent little pieces here and there, because the reality is we live too far away from each other for this to be a regular thing. That's why we're taking advantage of this opportunity.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Talk about something for a second. I gotta find the guy.
Well, while you're looking at it, let me talk a little bit about this particular bottle. So while Taylor's looking forward the Blackadder history, the bottle we picked for him was a Blackadder Raw Cask of a Bruichladdich. And this was really fantastic to find because independent bottlings of Bruichladdich are fairly rare. I don't want to say super rare. I mean, you can find them, but they're not all over the place. In fact, several of our favorite Islas are like that. They're just not often found in independent bottlings. You can find a lot of Laphroaig, I feel like, with like single malts of Scotland, maybe some signatory vintage, you can find some of those. Lagavulin has several independents, but Ardbeg, hardly ever see those. Yeah, some of those are older pieces. You can find them on occasion at auction, but modern day independents, I don't even think they do any.
Yeah, no, Ardbeg, I don't really see them, and if they do, they might be one of those brands where when they are being used, like they just say, and an Islay Scotch, because they're owned by Moet Hennessy. So like there's probably something in there, because I don't think I've ever seen Glenmorangie on
That's
something
true.
either.
I don't think I've ever. Yeah,
those are the two of the bigger, I say more well-known, bigger brands, more recognizable like Scotch brands that are out there. But I know like Bowmore is used in a lot of stuff. Yeah, like when I say Bowmore is in Johnny Walker or something like that. Like
it probably is.
Yeah, that's one of those, and like there's a whole bunch of them. I think Bona does a lot of stuff for sure. Lagavulin, I think, kind of goes back and forth because I think they're getting more proud of their distillery, like specific stuff right now. But yeah, years and years ago, like you see that stuff a lot, like Scotch Whisky Society, Single Malt Society, all like that stuff. Was, the Cadenhead sort of stuff. Like you'll find a lot of bottles that have some of those more historically larger distilleries, especially Islay Scotches, that did not suffer through a lot of, like, right before the bourbon boom happened.
Yeah, those that were like, and a lot of those were they were founded in like a blended type of business model. And, there's been some cyclical changes in the Scotch industry, and some of those bigger distilleries were able to handle that a little better than others. But there's some really interesting history you can research on how distilleries were shutting down due to changes essentially in consumer preferences, and they were not able to adapt quick enough, or they just did not have the production capacity to create what people wanted. For a while, blended was the thing to do. Then single malts were the thing to do. And then none of it was really preferred, but in certain markets, like in Japan, they may really want something that like the U.S. didn't. And so certain distilleries that were larger were a little better equipped to handle those cyclical changes, in their life cycle and adapt. Yeah. Whereas some of the ones like we like, smaller distilleries, they just weren't designed that way. And so right now we're in this really beautiful time where single malts are still very popular. They're very strong. They've been more popular perhaps at times in certain areas, but we're in a strong time. I mean, production's up, warehouses are being built, jobs are there. So that's very exciting. And maybe we'll see some more independents coming out because to me, I don't know how you feel about it, but bottling straight from a distillery are great. There's nothing in the world wrong with them. But independents are neat because they get to add kind of their twist to it. You likely will get something at a higher proof than you'll ever get straight from the distillery. You'll get something that hasn't been blended down. You'll get something like these raw casks that have elements that you'll never get from a distillery bottled offering.
One, it takes the people who are, because there's master distillers, there's master blenders, all these different things. It sort of blends, for use of the funny word. There, making a little pun there is that it makes it so that you not only get the fruits of the master blender, but also the master distiller, because at that secondary bottling, like you end up finding somebody who's got a slightly different approach to how they want to present that spirit.
Yeah,
just from the beauty of being individual people.
Exactly. Yeah, different interpretations on what makes the spirit great. Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah, and so going back to this particular bottle we're trying, so this is the one that we got you for your wedding.
Wedding? I got married?
Yeah, I know. News to me, right?
That's fantastic.
So this is a Bruichladdich, which is, again, extremely rare, especially nowadays. And it was 26 years old. So, I mean, just incredible.
Older than my wife.
Yeah, there you go. Now we know. So 26-year-old independent Bruichladdich at 55.2% alcohol. So pretty unique offering. I've got a Cadenhead's Bruichladdich that's 22 years old, but it's not cask strength, I don't believe, and it's definitely not a raw cask finish. So it doesn't have as much character. I haven't opened that bottle up yet. But this one, I know you can't see on camera, and obviously you can't see if you're listening to us on the podcast, but a quick turn and you see the chunks of the barrel, the charcoal bits floating.
That got through the port head.
Exactly.
When they were drilling it.
And there's something big piece. I mean, we're not talking dust. I mean, we're talking chunks.
Baby could choke on it sort of stuff. Like it's big enough.
Exactly. And what's the most amazing to me, going back to the mouthfeel comment, is how those pieces are suspended in the bottle. So
it takes forever for those to sink. Yeah, like
exactly.
You sit there and the bottle has to sit there for maybe a good 2-3 minutes before that stuff starts to really start moving.
So you're going to talk about a thick, hearty whiskey. This is it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So you can tell I've had a couple of pours.
I can tell you've not waited for our opportunity, and that's okay.
That's
I don't blame you.
We had some at the wedding, and
that is true. We didn't have too much of though. You wouldn't share it with everybody because this one had to be savored. This is not. You don't throw this back as a shot. This is you savor it. Right.
Fair.
Oh man, so nosing it.
And then you throw it across the room. Oh, no.
Yeah.
The nose.
That may work. I'm not willing to make that sacrifice.
Fair enough. Plus, I wouldn't get my deposit back. So
right.
Not that I expected.
So what's really interesting, in my opinion, about this one is on the nose, it comes across hotter than it actually is, in my opinion. I get a little more alcohol off the nose, and more than I would expect given the oiliness, the thickness of it, the full-bodied nature. It just, I don't know, it comes across lighter than it really is. That's just me. It's just my interpretation.
I do think that, it does maybe have a little bit more of the heat, coming off the nose, but I don't think it's misplaced, personally. Because I do think... Excuse me. I do think, it's up there. It's like, what, 55?
55, yeah. 55.
It's not too hot, but I think a lot of that, especially if we're talking about the oiliness, is coming from the fact that it is like straight from it. Like
It is exactly.
Yeah, like that. I think there's a lot of the esters that are like being caught up in the oiliness, to where like when you're looking at you give that guy about 10 or 12 good swirls, and you're gonna have a better time of it coming from there after every bottle, or every pour rather, every glass that you have.
And what about the legs on it too?
Rocket. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Like nice. Like they take a second. Like I said, we go back to what he said about the sediment, like taking a second to set. Like this is no different. Like it'll go. It might have a couple, of the few initial ones that are going to fall down, but then the lighter, oily, aspects of the whiskey are going to find themselves, and so they sort of pool up at the height of where it's touching.
Yep.
And then you see them go out, and they're nice. They're kind of thin at the top. They fatten out as they get about halfway through the bulbousness of the glass. English is hard tonight. Blame it on the alcohol. And then you get a lot of really big, like droplets that'll form. It just shows that there's a couple different viscosities that you're dealing with in this guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got a lot of character, and I feel like it's got a lot of depth in there.
Go ahead, E-Man. Grab a sniff. It's like, oh, Jesus, what?
But this is among the thicker, more oily whiskeys that I think we've had.
Yeah.
Among those, it's high up there on that list. But again, as expected, with
no
how
filtration at all.
Yeah,
it's
and it's so old too. So it's had a lot of evaporation in the cask.
What year?
So it was
26.
1991.
1991. Okay, so it's older than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
technically.
It's older than you. Yeah, I would the distillate is older than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Calm down, Theo.
All right.
I love how this one smells.
It's got a wonderful smell. It's also not quite as it's not peaty,
Yeah, the smokiness sort of sits around the edges of this one.
And I think, and to be very fair, Bruichladdich is actually more known for their unpeated stuff. Yeah. They have their heavily peated offerings, and obviously, Octomore, some of the heaviest peated, that you can buy. But really, their bread and butter is coming from that classic laddie, that kind of area. They're unpeated, like Isla barley type stuff.
It's just plain water influence.
So So I think this may be more of the. I mean, there's nothing. I don't think there's really even anything about peat on the labeling. No. I think this probably is their unpeated, but the brininess is there.
Yes,
there's not really that smoky kind of meaty element.
I love seeing the particulates float around.
Yeah, I'm getting little bits, not too much, nothing major.
A little bit of history with every sip.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Slangeva. That's better. Goodness.
You can taste the Bruichladdich side of it, though.
Which
is great.
Bruichladdich has a character. And being my favorite distillery, I'm very in tune to it.
Shout out Jim.
Yeah, shout out Jim. You couldn't.
And Adam, I guess. Now he's done a pretty good job with it so far. So.
No, Adam's done a good job, and I'm pleased with him. I mean, this particular bottle would be more from a Jim era bottling period.
Bottling period.
Bottling period. Yeah, distill it pre-Jim.
Yeah.
The bottling period, which even technically bottling period. This is an independent, so he may have handed the cask over. Yeah. He may have filled the cask,
probably slapped that hogshead on the side.
Yeah, did something like that. But no, I mean, again, everyone over there at that team does a great job. But this is very characteristic Bruichladdich, what you get. And going back to our earlier conversation about how the different elements influence not only the flavor of a whiskey, but how it ages and how it evolves. It's amazing that you have Bruichladdich, Lagavulin, Laphroaig, Bamor, Ardbeg, all those distilleries within a few miles of each other.
Yeah. It's not a very big island.
I mean, not a very big island at all. And yet, if you did a blind tasting, you could probably pick out which one's which. And at the end of the day, there are different procedures in play, but not that different.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the malting process. You've got
Terroir.
the terroir, yeah. You've got exactly. No, but that's exactly
really,
it. It's they're so close yet so different. And so it's pretty impressive how you can even a modern day Bruichladdich bottling, run of the mill stuff. Again, let's take classic laddie, and you take this 1991 26-year-old, raw cask, and you can tell they're the same kind of family. They're the same thing, same product.
Something about whether or not I'm curious to know if there has to be, like a different direction that the water swirls offshore or something.
There's
like
something,
that. There's
something, a rock formation that just happens to impart certain limestone characteristics.
Like Ardbeg primarily uses, Ugdal as its source of water. I think everybody else is using just good old Atlantic. So obviously, we're using sort of some of this Hebridean sort of filtration that's happening with the islands there. But my geography is pretty bad with Scotland without looking at the map that you forgot to bring. But I want to say it's really on the lower side of any of that. So there might be some connection to it in terms of like getting some of that play and that runoff from whatever's going on sediment-wise probably in there. It's definitely infiltrating the way that they're using their water. But I'm really big on the brininess. I like that little bit of salty flavor that gets in there. Most of my interactions with seaweed is through sushi, so I don't have a ton of experience there. But you look at the way it all plays together, and you get a really like you said, a very unique, to the point where we can look at that, and if we hadn't looked at the bottle, I imagine we could probably still taste Bruichladdich.
I think I would, in a blind taste test, I think I would pull out Bruichladdich from this one. It's just it has that characteristic, and I was actually trying to think of the wording I would use. If you said, what is it that tells you it's Bruichladdich, I would be like, it's just Bruichladdich. Just the word that comes to mind. It's there's a lightness up front to it that it's got a briny character, but it's fresh. It's just got this fresh, light airiness to it that in all the Bruichladdich I've had, they all have that same initial bite up front that is identical. That none of the other Islas in that area, especially peated Islas, have. So I can't really describe it because it's not exactly a flavor profile. It's just a characteristic.
I know what you're talking about though, because I think my association with Bruichladdich is very, very similar. Because and I'll try and visualize it for you. Bruichladdich is running through a door, and then there not being a floor on the other side. You hit that really sharp bite on the front end.
Yeah.
But then I think airiness is an absolutely perfect word to use, because there's this almost elevation that makes you want to slap, smack your mouth, smack your tongue.
Yeah.
Because just the with that initial pepper hit, you turn and you automatically get a lot of that alcohol and the esters burning off, and ethanol just reacting with everything going on in your mouth, and then you have a nice deep breath in, and it's pretty solid.
This is one if you take a deep breath after taking a sip, it's you catch your breath. Yeah. It's almost a menthol. If you're talking about airiness and that lightness,
Menthol's a good word.
It's not quite you're not popping a mint in your mouth, but it has that cooling kind of
spearmint
bite. Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. So if that's your thing, Bruichladdich may be the whiskey for you if you like that, which clearly I do. Bruichladdich is my favorite distillery, so
it's pretty solid. Yeah, I'm having a good time.
No, this is one I really would love to find more of these raw cask Bruichladdich, just for the history and what they produce. Yeah. Unfortunately, that may be the only one we ever get. But
I don't know raw cask. So go completely back, throwing it back to
Oh yeah, your
12
raw cask
minutes ago.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, your history.
Yeah. So, and I will do a full. Well, I say full. I will do a quarter cask, which is for the people who are new here, is going to be our shorter episodes. Normally hosted by just one of us.
Yeah.
Dials in on one specific topic. Whether it's how the distillation process works, ways to say cheers in a variety of languages, whether it's just a quick review of maybe a bottle that one of us picked up that we were just really jonesing to share about.
Or in this case, like a distillery review.
Yeah,
just a specific
which
distillery focus.
kind of falls in on the same thing with
would.
the new bottle find. We'll go and we'll locate as much information as we can about that, and then we'll throw together a quick. You don't have to worry about the 2.5 hours podcast, whatever this is going to end up being. Heaven forbid. It's normally when I do them, I try and keep them under 30 minutes.
Yeah,
makes them nice, digestible. Get a quick burst of information. But I will be doing a quarter cask eventually on Blackadder as a whole, and just to give you like the Spark Notes version of it. Let me see. That's that. All right, so Blackadder's philosophy is very simple. They believe that cask is king. That's pulled straight from the website, and that is absolutely the inspiration and the approach and the mission of Robin, Michael, and Hannah Tusick. If I mispronounced your last name, I apologize. If it makes you feel better, I did buy your book, so I'm super stoked to read through that. But Robin is extremely qualified in the whiskey world. He's been in deep since he was probably too young to drink legally, depending on your locale. But he is one of the founders of the Master of Malt and the Malt Whiskey Association. Mm-hmm. And then the Malt Whiskey File, English is hard again, is the book that I mentioned. He co-wrote that with John Lamont. And that's a great resource for getting just tasting notes and information about a lot of the most known bottles over probably the last 30 years. Mm-hmm. I've got yet to really do a devoted flip through on it, but quick little peeks I've taken so far have looked pretty good. So I'm pretty stoked for that, and I got it pretty cheap online too. So pick yourself up a copy. But they have a ton of different offerings. They do a lot of the raw casks. Raw casks is probably their biggest range. Now, whether or not how consistent you may find those bottle offerings, like the Bruichladdich 126, what's the one you brought again?
The Bunnahabhain.
It's the Buna, and it's how many years you think?
That one I don't recall. You may have to grab the bottle and see.
I'm gonna reach.
I know it's a cask strength. It's heavily peated from Buna, which is also pretty cool to get from them. It's all
right. So it looks like they don't put an age statement on it, but it's a cask strength, bottled in May of 21. So it's a relatively young bottle. It's a little hotter than the one we're having right now.
And it's pretty dark. It's definitely got a lot of color to it.
Yeah, got a little bit more. So
I don't know what that would mean from an age standpoint, but
that depends on what Bona's doing over there. Yeah. But so raw cask is probably their big thing, and then they've got, to name off a few, they got the Statement, Smoking Isla, which is a secret sort of one they do, Drop of the Irish, which is a nice Irish option they do. They do have a couple cask finishes with Amrut Indian.
Tarek had one of those.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah, that was
a wealth of knowledge and opportunity. So you got Red Snake, there's Sherry Snake, Black Snake, which are all going to be slightly different finishes and agings right there. And then he even does a raw cask rum.
Really?
He does, yeah.
Wow.
I have yet to see one, but it is an option somewhere.
Well, we know where to look and ask for...
We will just have to drop in at his house when and if us and our missuses head over that way.
Fair enough.
But that's a quick little sneak peek of that quarter cask on Blackadder that I'm going to give and put together in the next, hopefully, couple weeks. But yeah, like they do a fantastic job, like in terms of like just offering diversity, with different things that you can find, whether it's high proof, heavily peated, different finishes, different distilleries.
Yeah.
Like they're all over the place, but they're doing it very, very purposefully, from what I've read of Robin and his family.
I think so. Yeah, they're not just taking whiskeys and just throwing them around. I mean, they're planning it out, and they've got very good selections. And I want to reiterate how valuable and enjoyable. I don't mean valuable from a monetary perspective, but just in terms of the experience that independent bottlings can be. So I feel like, me personally, Blackadder and other independents flew kind of under the radar for me because
especially for several years.
Because we were looking for distillery bottles. From a marketing standpoint, like if we're looking for Ardbeg, we look for the characteristic green, still shaped Ardbeg bottle.
When I think a lot of those brands do a far better job at the marketing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever, unless you're part of like Single Malt Society or something like that, like you're not really getting the exposure to some of these brands, these bottlers.
You're not. So like you go to look for a whiskey, you want, I want a heavily peated Scotch or something, whatever. So you go to a store, you may ask about it. And the thing is, sometimes the store personnel aren't any better informed than you are at the end of the day either. So let's say
less.
Yes, often, in our case, often less. So they say, yeah, you want something heavily peated. Here's you an Ardbeg, or here's you a Port Charlotte. If you want something that is, I don't know, from a bourbon standpoint, just that too. Like I want a really good bourbon. They may say, okay, anything from Buffalo Trace is good, because a lot of it's marketing, right? It's the marketing hype. So I saw Blackadder bottles all the time, and
we had no idea what they
I didn't
were.
pay attention to.
We saw them and we're like, I don't know,
Like,
the price tags are a little crazy.
Yeah,
on
because the
that.
price was high. I think that's what happened is you see it, and the price is high, and you're thinking, why would I spend
never
money?
even heard of
I've
that
never heard of
place.
it. Because we just didn't know.
Their website was done on Wix. What is going on? Like,
Yeah, and nothing at all negative against the whiskey itself. We just didn't know, and I don't think it's in their prerogative to do big marketing campaigns. That's not what they're about. But
because they've got a niche that they're going for. The niche is somebody who knows what they're.
And so we graduated into that niche.
I'd like to think.
I like to think so. And so now we're discovering that. I say now. I mean, independent bottles we've had for a while. Excuse me, but. We've really started to, I think, explore those a little bit more. I know I have. Like I mentioned earlier this evening, I'm kind of on an independent bottle kick, just to start to explore that different side, kind of experiment with some things. And so now I'm thinking, wow, I want to keep an eye out for Blackadder or Single Malts of Scotland or Signatory Vintage or whatever else it may be.
Cool Cadenhead stuff, whatever it is.
And because it's like you never know what you're going to find, right? Like you see that independent bottling, it's like, oh, well, what is it going to be? And it may be a distillery you've never really had much interest in, but then suddenly you see a raw cask strength version of something from
piques your interest.
Yeah,
and your wallet's got enough capital in it.
Give it a shot.
Suddenly you got to tell your wife why you brought another one home.
Shh, don't say that. We'll keep that quiet.
First rule of drinking club is you don't tell your wife about drinking club.
That's right.
The head shakes I'm getting from my bride.
Our producer is shaking her head.
I hope you know in the credits for this, I'm going to put produced by Jillian Cosman.
She'll be in all the credits.
Produced by Jillian Cosman, survived by Jillian Cosman, endured by Jillian Cosman, set up by Jillian Cosman, all of it. But I think that we should take a short break for a plug of some sort. I think we can figure that out in post.
Okay.
I think we'll go ahead and do that. So stay tuned. Don't hit the skip ahead 30 seconds button or whatever's on YouTube nowadays, and we'll be right back. Hey there, listeners and watchers alike. Cage and I would like to thank you for your support in watching this video. Now, for this first recording, we went a bit longer than expected, so we decided to break this into 2 episodes. Pair that with me trying some new editing software, and I'm just glad it made it here on YouTube. Now, if I got YouTube Studio to make it right and work, then there should be a link somewhere coming up that'll get you to the second part of that video. But if not, just head over to our channel and you'll find it there. While you're there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click that little bell. That makes sure that you get a notification every time we post a video. Don't worry, they shouldn't all be this long. Go check out the notes for this episode down below. You should be able to find our socials and links for any of the brands we talked about. And while you're there, leave a comment. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video. Sláinte.